from the crypt.
Hello, boys and ghouls. Welcome to episode 65 of Dads from the Crypt, Tales from the Crypt podcast. My name is Jason. I'm joined by Jody.
Hello.
And Mondo.
Hey, hey.
And tonight we have two amazing guests. You right there?
Yeah, I try to break you every beginning, and you just gotten wise to it at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty upset. It's cool though.
All right. First off, we have writer, director, and cat dad, Andrew Bowser.
That is a very accurate description of me. Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks
And
for
problem. Last but not least, coming at us straight from the ghost dimension to ruin our dude bro party with a magician's spell. We are joined by Motherface herself, Olivia Taylor Dudley.
Hello.
Did I cover everything there?
That was fantastic. I wish all my intros were that.
It makes me feel better. We've been talking with Jason now for years, and we've never gotten that cool of an intro. So
yeah, never. Not even once.
Well, I mean, if you guys were in a couple Paranormal Activity movies and Dude Bro Party Massacre and a sci-fi original,
totally fair.
You have to earn that.
I respect this.
Olivia's put in the time. All right. Well, after all that, though, Andrew, Olivia, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Well, we're collaborators. We are friends, and we've made a lot of films together, and that's why we're guests as a duo on this episode, because we actually just recently completed a horror comedy that I would say is not too far outside of the Tales from the Crypt tone. I'm a writer director that's been kind of making his own content for many years, and started working with Olivia probably 10 or 11 years ago on, even what we first started working on together is kind of Tales from the Crypt. We worked on some Terror Twins, some shorts called the Terror Twins, which was kind of an Elvira Crypt Keepery interview comedy show, and then we've just been working together ever since.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
You have a really good YouTube channel that's been going for a long time.
I have been doing it for a long time.
Bowser
Vids. It's kind of evolved into a channel that exists to support this current film project. I used to do a lot more sketches and viral videos, and one of the characters that I do kind of turned into a popular enough entity to leverage that audience into a Kickstarter for a feature. And so now the YouTube channel doesn't really have sketches. It just has Olivia and myself live streaming every week, talking about the status of the film
and filmmaking
in general, the process, and what it's like to get an indie across the finish line. But I've been doing the YouTube channel for, I don't know, maybe since like 2006 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When Jason was telling us about all of who was coming on this week, I looked you up on IMDb, and I saw that a couple of years ago at the Chattanooga Film Fest, I'd watched one of your shorts, Little Willie, which I really love that one a lot.
Oh, right on. Thank you. Yeah.
Same here. We're both big Chattanooga Film Fest fans, and that's cool to see.
They were such sweethearts, and even though it was virtual that year, they still found ways to get everybody involved and do roundtable discussions online, and it just still felt like the filmmakers were really welcomed, and the programmers were engaging with them.
Yeah, even since things have slowed down a little bit, they're still doing it virtual, because that way people can participate from anywhere, and so they're trying to keep that option there available for people.
I really love just being able to log in and watch movies.
I remember that.
Yeah, I was loving it. They were wonderful.
But I loved your short. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. Well, the feature version is something that Olivia and I fleshed out together, and there's a role that that she would play in that feature. And I felt like we
fun.
were getting close to maybe getting it off the ground, and then everything happened
Right.
with the pandemic. And the feature of Little Willie took place where the short did at a horror convention. So there was just no way that early in the pandemic you were going to get 500 background actors into a hotel and be at a fake horror convention for 5 weeks. So, but maybe one.
Can you tell us about your new film at all, or is it still processing?
No, we can tell Sally all
Yeah.
about it.
Called Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls.
I'm sorry, what was the first part?
Onyx the Fortuitous. The name of the character
Onyx. Okay.
that I do is named Onyx the Fortuitous. And the Talisman of Souls is kind of the MacGuffin of the maybe first in a franchise of Onyx movies. I don't know. But it's about a fledgling Satanist who wins a kind of Willy Wonka style contest to go to a mansion that his senpai, his idol, owns, and he's going to get to take part in a once in a lifetime ritual along with 4 other contest winners that get invited to the mansion. And then once he gets there, he realizes that this guy he's looked up to actually plans on stealing the souls of his followers for his own nebulous
Sure.
nefarious
nebulously nefarious.
yeah his own nebulously nefarious gain. And then Olivia plays the villainous assistant to the big baddie.
That's
It's
awesome.
a real fun movie. We're
Yeah.
pretty much almost done with it. So
I like that. Yeah, I really like the idea of like a kind of a demonic twist on Willy Wonka.
Yeah. And it was fun when we were working on the script to kind of map it out based on that a little bit. I mean, we had a tiny budget. We were still able to pull off some really awesome things.
yeah, it doesn't feel like a tiny budget film.
Yeah. No, it really feels like it's got scope. And I don't know, especially now that we're through all of sound design and score, and once all of that's done, it really does feel beefy. And there's been so many times when I sent Tales from the Crypt references to the composer of our film, VFX, literally the lightning. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Background.
Yeah. We were like, we want it to look like old, optical effect lightning, like illustrative. And so we sent our VFX supervisor Tales from the Crypt. It's very much influenced by that era. It's throwback, but it's not throwback in the sense that it's making fun of anything from the 80s, 90s. It's just trying to feel like a movie from that era that has a lot of heart, practical creatures.
Yeah, with a lot of practical big puppets.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. A lot of fun puppets.
Okay. And then our traditional question for when we have guests on is, do you remember the first time you watched Tales from the Crypt? Do you have any favorite episodes?
Oh, yeah. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
No, because I don't remember. I know I just have watched it.
I do
not remember.
I feel like you were, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in my household, I grew up in a kind of like religious household, and we weren't allowed to watch stuff like this.
Oh yeah.
So anytime I got close to it, and I think the first time I saw it might have been when it aired edited on like Fox in syndication or something. But I feel like you watched horror stuff a lot younger.
Oh yeah, my mom, we watched horror movies growing up all the time, and we started watching The Exorcist at 5. All we watched is horror movies. So I don't have some grand memory of watching it because it was probably just in the mix.
Yeah.
I was lucky.
Right. Whereas for me, it was like this forbidden fruit, and I was so attracted to that and Child's Play and Fright Night. But I remember I would get scared when the theme song would begin.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh no, what is it, 11:35 already, or whatever time it came on in syndication. But I would oftentimes at least ride out the intro, and then once the Crypt Keeper popped up, I'd be like, okay, I'm out. And then sometimes I would flip and then come back. And I remember I must have had a free trial of HBO at some point, because I don't think this would have aired in the edited Fox version. But the episode that stands out is with Steven Weber and Vincent Schiavelli and Rita Wilson.
Yep.
And I don't know that Olivia's seen this episode and I want to watch it, so I don't want to say, but there's a
Yeah.
really gruesome moment with Steven Weber in a coffin.
Yep.
And I remember when I saw that as a kid, I was like, what the fuck? I thought like they can show that. It was so gruesome.
What happens?
Well, he's in a coffin like with a half decayed, open carcass. It's
Oh,
really
hell
just like
yeah.
viscera and yeah. And I remember seeing that and just being terrified, but also
Mhm.
loving it. And I think that was the first episode. I also loved Wings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, it's the guy from Wings. Oh God, no. But that one stands out. Yeah.
Hey, that was must see TV.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at some point I don't remember when, but at some point I just tore through. I still don't know that I've seen every episode, but at
Mhm.
some point I just tore through the back catalog, and for a while had the DVD set. I still do somewhere.
We've watched it while we're editing when we
Yeah.
take breaks. Put it
Yeah.
on.
We recently watched the episode with Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah, King of the Road.
Mm.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite episodes is the Lance Henriksen Cutting Cards. Is that what
Yeah.
Good cards. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
That is, yeah. When I listen to the score, when the Cutting Cards, one of the songs from Cutting Cards pops up, and I just love that vibe. I think I sent that to our composer.
Olivia, do you have any favorite episodes?
Oh dear, no.
The Brad Pitt,
Honestly,
because
the
it
Brad
was-
Pitt one. Just that
Just
fucking
that I mean, I went in and made a GIF of his little tongue flick
yeah.
to post. That's
It's like we
that,
rewound it.
such a
Rewound.
great moment.
Kind of old, but you know what I mean. Like we went back and watched that moment again. That's a great episode.
because we were both just like, it's crazy that he
He was
already
just
has
Brad
so
Pitt.
much charisma.
Yeah, he already was Brad
Mm.
Pitt then.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Before
It's
anything
that-
new.
That's a
Really
weird
fun.
episode because it wasn't meant to be Tales from the Crypt, so it feels a little off.
So
But
what-
it still has the Brad Pitt factor.
I hear about that with episodes. So what does that mean? Where did that script originate?
So I think we had Al Katz talk about in our episode. But the short answer is that they were trying to make spin-offs from Tales from the Crypt, and they could
Okay.
never get them really off the ground. So they just repurposed a lot of those episodes to be Tales from the Crypt episodes. Like Yellow was supposed to be the
Right.
kickoff for like this whole like Western war theme
Mhm.
series. But for whatever reason, Fox just didn't want to pay for a whole new series, so they just repurposed them as Tales from the Crypt.
Interesting.
Ah, that makes sense.
And
So
this,
that's why I mean, it's hard to tell in an anthology because each one is a little bit different, but some
Yeah.
definitely feel a lot different.
Yeah,
than
if you get one
others.
that's just like straight up sci-fi with no horror
Yeah.
element, that's sometimes one of those, or Western or war or something like that.
Yeah.
right. Well,
I
yeah,
mean-
we watched an episode earlier today that it almost didn't feel like a Tales from the Crypt episode.
No, not
At
at
all.
all.
Which one was it?
It was the oils well that ends well.
Yeah.
Lou
Okay.
Diamond Phillips. There's a lot of talk about deeds and the
It's
rights to
very-
land and
There's no spookiness at all.
no spooky. We were watching. We're like, where? Give me some ghouls. Like, give me some
Yeah.
monsters. It had a very Tales ending, but
Kind of.
kind of.
Kind
It
of,
really didn't feel like you were watching a Tales episode throughout.
Okay. Well, tonight we'll be talking about Came the Dawn, which premiered on November 17th, 1993. Jody, give us a plot synopsis.
All right. So once again, we get a crypt keeper in costume for our opening, and in this instance, he is a flight attendant making all of his puns at the front of a plane.
I'm pretty sure this was Spirit Airlines. He was on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we open on a POV shot from someone's perspective. It looks like a man on a date with a woman who she's into him, and we're seeing through his eyes, and she's trying to kind of seduce him, and then excuses herself to go to the restroom where she sits on the toilet and practices her sex talk. I don't know why, but you got to be ready. Someone enters the restroom, turns off the lights, and then that shadowed person opens up the door to her stall and hacks her to death with an axe. And you see blood run underneath the stall door. So we're definitely in Tales from the Crypt territory. We already had an axe murder in the first scene.
Right.
Very nice. And then later, we are introduced to a man driving in the rain He makes a call on his ancient car phone and gets the answering machine where the woman says, if this is Roger, don't leave a message. Well, it's Roger. And he leaves a message anyway, says he misses her, but then the machine cuts him off. As Roger's driving, he comes upon a woman who's looking under the hood of her car in the rain, and she flags Roger down. And he asks if he can help and invites her to come into the car to warm up while he calls a mechanic. He offers her a dry shirt, and she takes off her shirt right there in front of him. And you could tell Roger's already getting intrigued by this woman. It is Brooke Shields in the early 90s. So, yeah, of course. And then he offers to take her to her home, but it's a long way off. Offers to take her to an inn, but she can't afford it. And so he says, oh, why don't you just stay the night with me tonight? No pressure or anything. She accepts. She introduces herself as Norma, but that's not her name because we see her pick that name off of a CD that's sitting in the car. And just a quick side note for our younger listeners, if we have youngins here, they are really trying to show how rich this guy is, because when did this one air, Jason?
93.
93. Car phone, that's rich guy stuff. Even a CD player in your car.
CD player in the car.
That's rich guy stuff. Like I had a Discman that skipped every time you breathed in 1993. There was definitely no built-in stuff. So they're trying to show that Roger is loaded.
Opera
for 93 standards.
Opera might still be pretentious rich people
It is
stuff.
pretentious. Yes. Yeah. He's listening to opera through the whole thing. And actually the opera kind of plays through this whole episode. So just kind of get used to it. You have two running themes, thunder and lightning through the whole episode, and opera. Constant.
He's also wearing a full suit and ordering like oysters from like the local pit stop.
Well, yeah, that's where we go next. Is he tells her about, he turns up the opera music and tells her that the song is called the opera is called Norma. She knows that because she stole the name from it. So he stops at like the little local store. It looks like a little general store that around here you could get like, I don't know, a sandwich and some chicken livers and a Coke. But instead,
real fast, Jody, a sandwich that would be questionable as to whether or not you should ingest it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I say chicken livers because I have bought chicken livers from a gas station because I live in the South. And that's what we do.
Were you using them to fish or to?
No, I'm talking cooked fried chicken livers.
Oh.
There was a gas station that was near my college that every time I would leave to come home for a weekend, I'd swing by the gas station, pick up a little container of them, and just snack on them all the way.
Like
living in the South, man.
I was always more of a chicken gizzard kind of guy. Don't know about you.
What?
Yeah.
What is happening?
All right, so
My family's from Georgia.
Jody just got electricity like 3 weeks ago, so we're good.
But anyway, he stops at this little store and picks up oysters and Cristal. So I don't know where he's staying. But the shopkeeper is named Ed. And he says a friend of his had his truck stolen. And he tells Roger about the woman who was killed in the restroom in the first scene. And Roger looks out the window and sees her and kind of has this realization that, oh, she was the one who stole the truck. Meanwhile, she's out in the car, like digging through his glove box, stealing change, just petty thievery stuff. The car phone rings and she answers it, and she tells the woman that the woman who's on the line that she has the wrong number and hangs up on her. She almost steals the car, but then Roger comes back and they go to the cabin. There's this huge giant cabin, and Norma is impressed specifically with the giant axe on his wall. Like that's the first thing she goes to. He lies and says it was used in the French Revolution, and then he tells her it's a lie. And then he tells her she can go upstairs to shower and that there are dresses in the closet. And she goes up there and she starts looking through the dresses, and for some reason, I mean, she's robbing him. Like she's actively robbing him at this moment, but also getting really upset that he's being dishonest about like having a girlfriend. Like that's upsetting to her while she's in the middle of robbing him.
It makes sense later because she explains the reason why she's out there is because she was cheated on. So it's right. fresh trauma for her.
Yeah, when you're in the middle of robbing somebody, complaining that they're lying to you seems a little,
A little hypocritical.
Yeah.
A little dubious. Nefarious, nebulous.
A little nebulous there. Yeah.
So she comes downstairs in a pretty dress, and then Roger goes to his safe to get a surprise. It's this fancy, expensive necklace. And as they eat, Roger tells her the plot of Norma the opera, but she's not impressed because I'm sure hearing someone describe opera through your entire meal is just stimulating conversation. But she's not impressed. And they start talking about how much he likes women in like a really weird, creepy way, including like commenting like how cute it is when they go to the bathroom with their skirt hiked up. Okay, that's strange. But then he asks about her and says that he knows that her name isn't Norma and he knows that she stole the truck, but he's not going to tell anyone. She says she's there to find her husband who was with another woman, but she took care of it and now she can't go home anymore. He tells her she can stay as long as she likes and feels like they have a special connection. So upstairs, she ties his hands to the bed, or starts to. She gets one hand tied, and they start to get undressed when there's a sound downstairs. Roger goes to investigate, and Norma hears a woman yelling at him and the sound of glass breaking. So Roger comes back into the room, and he says, you need to leave now, because when she gets like this, she's dangerous. And basically kind of like shoves her out onto the balcony of this room and closes the door. And while she's out there, she hears the woman yelling and says, am I going to have to do the same thing to this person as I did to the woman in the restroom? So whoever this voice is, that's our killer from earlier. When it's quiet, Norma sneaks back in to grab her bag with the stolen stuff in it, sneaks down the stairs. She starts to open the front door, but it's locked. And behind her, she notices that the safe is still open. We see somebody in a dress pick up the axe kind of in the distance. She goes to steal some more stuff out of the safe, but steps on a TV remote. And when she steps on it, the TV lights up. And on the TV, she sees Roger in a dress and a wig and full makeup saying the words she heard yelled earlier about, who is she? Why? I know you've got someone here. And about that time, the real Roger, wearing a dress and a wig and makeup and everything, steps out of the shadows holding that big giant axe and attacks her. And at one point says, Roger is mine, before hacking her to bits as blood runs out under the door from the cabin. So a second hacking.
A hackening.
Which could have been a good name for this episode.
Nice. All right, Andrew, Olivia, since you're our guest, you can start us off. What did you think of this episode?
Well, I thought it was interesting that I've heard a lot of conversation around how in horror, in film history, but specifically because I'm a horror hound, the conversation has been about how in horror history, we've writers and directors and storytellers have kind of vilified the other, or the man who might wear a dress, or the person
deviant. The deviant.
Yeah, it's always positioned as that's deviant, that's a villain, and sleepaway camp, dressed to kill, psycho. And I've never heard this episode brought up. And as I was watching it, I was like, this should probably be a part of that conversation, because we don't really unpack. And I know Tales from the Crypt episodes are quick, but there's no time to unpack, what's happening in this person's life. By the time the episode's over, it was simply, they were a villain because they wore a dress.
Yeah.
And it was slightly, and it was, non-conformative and I guess scary for more normative people. And so I was thrown by that, because I was like, whoa, I've never heard about this episode and never seen its themes discussed. So I think it's an interesting one to unpack from that perspective. And then also I didn't even know there was an episode of Tales from the Crypt with a young Brooke Shields. I didn't know what Perry King was from, and I'm looking him up now because he looked so freaking familiar. So it was a wild episode to have not known about, and then to have just sat through, and I'm still just kind of parsing through it all, because they don't really give it a reason. Like in Psycho, there's the connection to the mother.
Yeah, they don't really give a reason to why that makes him the villain, other than that is
right.
That's kind of the blessing and the curse of the Tales from the Crypt format is it has to be the exact same amount of time every episode.
Right.
And if we don't have time to explain the backstory, sorry.
Just
Like,
don't.
Right.
Just don't. Yeah.
which you know
Right.
which again makes it so you know what you're in for as far as timing goes.
Yeah.
It makes a very concise story, but yeah, another few minutes would have really helped flesh out the
Yeah.
overall themes of this episode. And I'll let you, yeah, you guys can finish and I'll get to my thought on that.
Oh yeah, just so I guess there's that angle to discuss, which is that I know it sounds like an overused term, but just that the problematic nature of painting a person like that as a villain. But then there's just talking about it as a Tales from the Crypt episode. It did have it was engaging immediately.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I was
The axe murder, the murder in the bathroom in the beginning was engaging immediately.
yeah, and kind of it was fun how that was shot, and
Yeah, it's
I'm
pretty.
always surprised at how I know these episodes are, it's a revolving door of different directors, but there is still such a cohesive look to most Tales from the Crypt episodes, and
Mhm.
this one included. Loved how that opening sequence was shot. Loved just the vibe of the rainstorm and the cabin, and
Yeah, vibey for sure.
I know that from listening to the how to not make a movie, they talk about how any director that was like, I want rain, Gil and a lot of the other people involved in production were like, no, you're not getting rain. This episode
And a lot of rain.
had a lot of rain.
Well, was it me, or was for as much as it rained, she wasn't very wet?
Yeah, I know. There was just
Yeah, her
Was it
hair
like-
was a little bit wet, but like
Mhm.
nothing else.
so much so to where when he said, you can go and change, I was like, why? And
Why?
I'm like,
Yeah, you're
oh,
fine.
it's supposed to be soaking wet and and shivering from the storm. I don't know. I want to watch it again because it kind of threw me.
They spent more time on Brooke Shields changing in the front seat than explaining the
That's
Right.
true.
reason for the episode.
Well,
They
considering
made
the
it
audience.
like that. Yeah.
But right, 15-year-old me would have been like, what a perfectly balanced
Yes.
structure.
Well,
The 40-year-old me is like, this episode is problematic.
that's the thing. Like it goes so quickly. Is it even problematic if it doesn't even like explain anything? It doesn't even
Right.
try to explain.
It is a little hard to grasp like how
Yeah,
good and bad it is.
I did wonder. I know we want to get to everyone else's takes.
No, go ahead.
I did wonder, why did he have to have the other personality filmed and recorded
Mhm.
Yeah.
back?
Right.
Couldn't he have just
Yeah.
done the Norman Bates thing where he was down there?
Could have just done it.
Yeah, he could have just been
Like-
yelling back and forth to himself like mother.
Well,
Definitely.
I think it was
he
to
definitely
show-
was doing that later too. When she was
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
balcony, he was definitely yelling back and forth to
Yeah.
himself. So the
think
whole
it was-
TV thing really threw me off.
Well, yeah,
I think it was for the audience.
Okay.
So maybe if we didn't get it,
But-
like the 93 audience.
my
Right.
first thought was at the Home Alone thing with the video
Oh.
playing with Tim Curry, and I thought it would have been a lot cooler if that would have been just a video clip of some fake movie they made where that's what's happening in the movie. It didn't need to be him.
Right.
Yeah. There was a couple logistical things that were a little sloppy. All right, Mondo.
We both said, we both said at the top, we love the Crypt Keeper's morbid sense of humor, but we both have a little like flying anxiety.
A little.
Oh, really?
And we didn't
Yeah.
like him making jokes
The,
about
the fucking intro floored us. We were like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah,
Why are we on a plane?
when he was like, you'll be experiencing some
Turbulence.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
chill, Crypt Keeper. That's too much.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah,
the
that's
intro
a great
stuff.
gag.
Yeah. But what was he said turbulence. Oh, boo. Okay.
Yeah, boo.
Turbulence.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Boo.
Yeah, I got it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I had to say it out loud again. When he said it, I was like, turbulence. Yikes. Anyway.
All right, Mondo.
Before I get to the episode, I fly a ton for work. Like I'm on an airplane like a million times a year. If I can help you with one thing, is if you're ever worried when you see turbulence, look at the flight attendants. If they're not
Yeah.
worried, you
Yeah.
don't have to be worried. You're good to
Yeah.
go. And
Yeah.
also, if you want less turbulence, sit by the wing.
I always
sit
do.
by the
Buckle.
wing at the window. I'm not afraid
Perfect.
of crashing. I'm afraid of being stuck on a plane with other human beings. That's what freaks me out.
I
Isn't that where the
respect this
aren't the gremlins usually by the wing?
Yeah,
you
see,
you
that's
put the
true. The Twilight Zone
That's
fan.
true.
you
over
put
here.
you put the fucking shade down. It's fine. You don't look out the window. Only psychopaths look out the window. It's been proven.
What?
I'm just
I
kidding.
have to look out the window or I'll die.
It depends. As a guy that flies a lot, it just depends on how early my flight is. If I look out the window or not. Do I want a nap or do I not need a nap?
I can't
Yeah.
sleep
That's what it
on a
is.
plane. I fly a lot too. I can't, and it's awful every fucking time.
I know.
Yeah, I still don't love flying. Like I do it because of necessity of what I do for a living, but I'd rather just not be in an airplane. I drive when I can. I'm just gonna put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyhow, I this is a good episode. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst. Just kind of I'd say middle tier. I think Angie and Olivia, you guys nailed a lot of points that I want to make on this. Where it's the weird thing with why does he have to cross dress to do this or have the alternate personality, and why can't someone just have an alternate personality? Maybe doesn't cross dress or just have an alternate personality. Why do they have to add that in there? But we were in different times in the early 90s. One thing again, I also love when Tales from the Crypt, though, when they do this thing where they get such great results off such a small cast and small set.
Totally.
When they basically gave this, so what's funny is you put it here that Peter King, who plays Roger, was in Class of 1984 in Melrose Plays, and that was kind of it. And my first thought when I saw him was Patrick Bateman, as he had that
Totally.
like, like he could have fit in American Psycho as one of the whatever New York tycoons
VPs.
or somewhere in there, because he had that classic like almost creepily handsome look to him, where you just know something's there behind the eyes.
Yeah, I mean, he wore his glasses when he was naked, right? Was that episode?
No.
Hot. That was great.
Yeah.
As a former glasses wearer, you just never take your glasses off until you're like the exact moment before sleep, which is why
Very true.
I got LASIK. I got tired of taking my glasses off before, but and then Brooke Shields I thought was fantastic in this. I thought she played a really great role. The one thing I didn't quite get about this was when he calls obviously the ex-wife or ex-lover, and when they kind of play that gimmick back at the very end. So she obviously didn't care enough to come down there, but that was kind of a loose end. They never really explained, although it does set up the ending of this. But that was kind of a little bit weird.
Mhm.
And but I do love that, like you guys brought up before, is he just shoves her outside in the cold and hands her clothes in the rain. Like, you have to leave. And the first thing I thought is he's gonna throw her out the fucking window. But thankfully it was a set of doors. But I'm like, what a dick.
She's supposed to be on the balcony. What's she supposed to do?
Yeah.
She got dressed real fast. She was like out
Yeah.
there the next shot. She was
walking
fully
back in.
dressed.
Yeah.
Buttoning your shirt.
Well, she was trying to
Yeah.
find a blue lagoon to go to, but
Yeah.
Ooh.
Right.
Now they made, and this is again when I ask you guys questions, they made a point to show the bag she had shoved under the bed. Did they ever show the contents of that bag?
it was clothes
She
and
was-
stuff that she was trying to steal.
Yeah. She was
Okay.
grabbing some stuff out
Wow.
of some of the drawers and stuff. But
So
Okay.
yeah, this is one of those episodes where there wasn't technically a good person. I mean, she didn't
Yeah.
deserve to die, but she also like was trying to steal from this guy. So she was the lesser of the evils.
Yeah.
Okay.
I brought this up while we were watching it because and I don't know if you talk about this on the podcast, but it's these episodes, I don't know if they're nowhere officially streaming, right?
Yeah.
No.
No.
And so we watch them on YouTube channels, or I can break out my DVD player, etc. But I think there's like a disconnect when you're watching these episodes low res.
Mhm.
I find that my mind sometimes it's hard to take in some of the visual information that would have just been a lot clearer and more direct. And so you kind of start to, it's almost like just watching something. It starts to feel a little bit like Charlie
Yeah,
Brown.
your brain kind of starts to
Yeah.
not grasp things or make things up.
Yeah. Because I saw the bag and I was like, do we know that bag? Is there anything? What's in that bag?
Yeah, I have the same thing because they put an emphasis on it and they never did before. So like,
Yeah.
why is
Yeah.
now this bag important?
There was a lot
part-
of things with emphasis on them in this episode that just kind of don't lead anywhere.
There's like a quick
Yeah.
shot when she goes into the room and she looks in the closet and she takes out the bag. And if you're not thinking of it, you
Right.
might not notice it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
the
know,
only reason I notice all this is because I'm taking all these notes for that
Yeah.
synopsis part.
Because I was even like, wait, is he tied up or no? He's not tied up. He's able to get
Right.
up.
Well,
Well,
I thought he was
Got
tied
one-
up.
he got
No.
one arm.
Gotta
Got one
stand
arm.
up.
Before the sounds.
Also, if you're going to tie someone up, stockings, I don't think are that strong. Like you can
No,
break
they're
that pretty
not.
easily.
Yeah, I mean, she was definitely tying him up to like rob him, but
Right. So if that's her
Yeah.
plan, she should know you can rip the stocking without
yeah,
too
I
much
mean,
trouble.
just like a loose knot. It didn't take any work.
can you give clarification on that, Jason?
I can demonstrate later.
Yeah.
That'll be on our Patreon account on our Only Dads.
Right.
Yeah, but what I do want to give them a lot of props for. There's a lot of red herrings in this episode. Like they do a really good job at showing you getting you to think what. Okay, I know this is going to happen because my first thought was, okay, he picked her up. She's the killer. She's going to kill
That's
him,
what I
right?
said. Yeah.
Yeah. And they set it up so well to where it all just makes sense. But they also set that up as kind of also the red herring to make you think that's not going to happen. So then you think it is going to happen. And
Right.
I really love that, how they kind of wove all these little bits and pieces of the stories together and eventually it kind of took a left turn at the end to where it still made sense overall. But I'm still going to say for me, it's middle of the road Tales from the Crypt.
All right, Jody.
Yeah, I think this was a pretty decent episode. There's a lot of things that don't make sense if you think too hard about it in this one. Like, I love the murder in the bathroom early on, but you see that when he comes in, he's got the full like wig and dress and everything. Like you can see little glimmers of that. Did he do that in the restaurant? Because they're at a restaurant. Did he like get
Oh, that's a good
fully
point.
Yeah, that's
changed and then
yeah,
go
that's
into the
interesting.
bathroom to murder someone and then I guess pack it all back up and leave it?
He like brings his
Right.
murder bag into the bar.
Real quick, though, I love that
Or like
overhead.
the axe even, like you just show up for a date and like, oh, got an axe.
Like,
Yeah,
I always
it's
carry
an
my
axe.
axe
I
with
keep
me.
it around here.
This is my walking axe.
I will say though, that overhead shot scene was super cool
Yeah.
Oh,
because
yeah,
it
no, it's
reminded me.
awesome.
Well, it reminded me of like early '90s video games when you always
Mhm.
that top down scene.
Oh yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of like an homage to that, which is just really cool.
But yeah, and like many of these, if you think too hard about some of the details, it starts not making a lot of sense. But that's fine. I don't try to think too hard about a Tales from the Crypt episode, except for the fact that we have a podcast and I have to occasionally. But if I'm just watching it, like just let some of that stuff just drift by. But the one thing that is kind of weird is that by the end, the whole big reveal, I like everyone said, I needed a little bit more of what's going on here. It's just they went for the shock of you see this guy in a dress. Like that was the big like, haha. But I don't really know that maybe in 93 that had a lot more impact of being shocking. It's not all that shocking now. The split personality thing, I guess, is, but honestly, I kind of, and I don't know why, my brain doesn't normally work this way, but I kind of got an inkling that maybe he was both people from the very first time we heard the voices upstairs. And I don't know why I thought that.
Interesting.
Maybe it's just
Hmm.
I've grown up on horror movies and, the Psycho thing immediately jumped to
Yeah.
mind because it was definitely a play on Psycho there with
Well, it
the
felt-
mother. And I guess he did mention his mother.
Yeah.
So
I did-
maybe it's that. Maybe that's just not fleshed out enough.
Yeah. I often feel like Tales from the Crypt is usually the episodes are so aware of tropes, and not to say
Yeah.
that they don't also delve into tropes and utilize them, but they're so aware of horror that for that to be the twist, I thought, well, there's something else here. because
Right.
Tales from the Crypt knows about Psycho. Tales from the Crypt knows Dressed to Kill, So I was like, this can't be it. And then it ends so soon after the twist. Yeah, I think I rely on Tales from the Crypt to just like subvert it like twice
Right.
over
Right.
and not just the
point.
one time. And this episode didn't quite do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good
That-
point because like a lot of the red herrings I was talking about were just completely other horror movie tropes,
Yeah.
and that makes sense that they would kind of attack the audience with that to show them like
Yeah.
knowing their audience and setting them up for the big reveal at the end.
Yeah.
But I hadn't thought about it until I was talking just now, though. But when we talk about the axe earlier, and she's all asking him questions about it, he also points to a portrait of his mother, and the axe came from his mother.
Mm.
So I'm guessing in the end, he was his mother. direct riff on Psycho there.
Yeah, that's a bit of
But
Conjuring, but
that's not laid out very
Gesture.
clearly.
And he does say it's a relationship that ended, and that's all that matters when he's talking about the whose dresses they are. Yeah, maybe I almost want to rewatch it and think about it from that perspective of like, is it a knowing play on Psycho?
Right.
I think knowing how quickly these were made, I don't think they put that much thought into it.
I know.
I think they're just like Psycho done.
5 days. Yeah.
I do think that Tales from the Crypt would benefit from an extra 3 to 5 minutes per episode.
Yeah.
Some of them, yes. Some of them, no, but yeah.
And if they were made now, we'd have that because now streaming, I mean, the runtime, whatever people want.
Right.
Yeah. I'll hop in. So I definitely got Hitchcock vibes throughout this entire episode. I didn't think they'd go full Psycho because I mean Psycho is one of my all-time favorite movies. So I guess on one hand, I was kind of cool. It was kind of cool that they did that. On the other hand, it seemed a bit of a crutch in a way to just lean so far into it for the big finale. Again, it happens so fast and without any explanation. It's like hard to even say if it's problematic. I do feel like how he talked about himself in the third person, saying like you can't have him, definitely made it seem more as a disassociative personality than a cross-dressing personality.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't a man dressing up as a woman, where he was a man thinking that he was. I'm sure I'm not going to say that right.
But I guess you'd be more akin to like a Norman Bates and less
an Angela.
Dress to Kill.
Right. Sleepaway Camp. Right.
This is where we need to cut in with Dr. Natalie explaining what this was.
Right.
Yeah.
That's our friend who's a psychologist.
Gotcha.
This is again one of those episodes really enjoyable to watch going through it. But yeah, once you stop to start thinking, it's like, why did he make the tape? Who caused the noise downstairs? All those little things start to you start pulling those threads.
Oh, well, right. Because he was tied up when he heard someone come home.
Yeah.
So
where'd that noise come from?
Yeah.
Unless he plays the tape at a certain.
Yeah. It's just, but then why?
Yeah.
So again, there's a lot of little things
Was that a feature on VCRs that you could set them up to play at a certain time? As a guy that owned a lot of VCRs, I don't think you could ever do that.
I don't think so.
No, he would have to. He would have had to.
Had a lot of runtime.
Right?
Yeah, a lot of runtime. Yeah. It's just again, don't think it's one of those you shouldn't really think about that deeply because they didn't.
Yeah.
But this was kind of a fun, erotic thriller, which makes sense given the director is Uli Edel. He did a movie called Last Exit to Brooklyn, Body of Evidence, which is a Madonna William Dafoe joint.
Oh yeah.
He did a ton of episodes of Homicide: Life on the Streets.
Oh, I was on that show.
You were on that show?
You were on that show?
Yeah, little baby Andrew.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's one of my all-time favorite shows. That's really cool.
Well, I was a kid actor in Baltimore, and I played a murderer on that show.
What? Oh, no shit. That's cool.
Elijah Wood. The episode is called The True Test, and Elijah Wood was a kid at my private school that got me to commit the murder.
Oh, is that the one with the basketball? With the basketball player who's that they're framing?
No. Oh, well, no, I don't think so. We were in a boys' choir at a private school.
Okay. No, that's a different one. Sorry. I was thinking today, you know what, Andrew, we need to do a Homicide: Life on the Streets podcast. If I had the time, I would do that.
It's so cool that Elijah Wood is now really into the horror genre. That's pretty awesome.
My gosh. I know it's so, and the episode that I did was directed by Alan Taylor.
Oh, cool!
Went on to do so many Game of Thrones episodes and Thor 2 and a Terminator movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and Baltimore, John Cassier's from Baltimore.
There you go. One other really cool thing that Uli Edel did, he did I'm not sure if it's made for TV. No, it's an HBO. They made a biography on the life of Rasputin.
Wow.
With Alan Rickman playing Rasputin.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
That's cool.
I want to watch the shit out of that.
Well,
what year was that made?
I have to look. It was like the 2000s, early 2000s.
So it's a
early
small
90s.
world. When I came upstairs to record, my wife is watching Color Out of Space.
Oh, nice.
Which Elijah Wood's production company did.
Yeah.
Which when the director is not a good person.
Yeah.
And I love that Elijah Wood said, we're not going to stop selling the film because we want money to go to the actors and the people that really worked on it, but all the money is getting donated to groups because
Gotcha.
I can't remember the director's name, but he's not a good person.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Brooke Shields, really famous, but she has an interesting career. She's done some stuff where she was in Alice, Sweet Alice,
Hmm.
and Freaked, and
Yep.
obviously Suddenly Susan, and now she did a Castle for Christmas with Carrie Elwes.
No way. Okay. I love Carrie Ellis.
I would watch
Yeah.
that. I love Carrie.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love knowing, again, after listening to how not to make a movie, when they, Victoria Burrows, the casting director for Tales, she talks about, and we were talking about this. She talks about how any actor that they had in an episode had to be willing to work just for the scale plus 10, just scale, plus getting their team paid.
No compromise. No, nobody could be above that.
Yeah, and so it's so cool when
Yeah.
you watch these episodes to think like Brooke Shields was down for that. Anybody that was in these episodes kind of all just seems a little
Game,
cooler.
yeah.
Yeah, because they were willing to
Yeah.
come and play with the Tales from the Crypt crew for scale.
Well,
Well,
also
we-
she's playing kind of against type. She doesn't usually
Yeah.
play like a villain,
Yeah.
villainish.
We
mean,
talked to
My biggest thing I didn't like about the episode, which is just a personal thing, was that she chews gum, and I have a thing with people chewing gum. I don't like mouth sounds. I don't like gum, and she
Yeah.
chews so fucking
What's-
hard.
And
And
so-
was
and
it-
then-
it was such
And then from that to a toothpick.
and then she went to a toothpick. And
Oh yeah.
I was really into her
Funny.
performance. I thought she was really great in this. I just really hated that. It's like
I-
the only person who can get away with it and not make me angry is Brad Pitt. But like
Because he's
he's always
in the-
chewing.
I'm in the same boat that I always have gum in my car, but if someone asks me if I have gum, I say no.
Yeah, no.
And I'm the only person allowed to chew it, and
Who can
only
chew it? Yeah,
and only by myself.
exactly.
And then when I get to the place I'm going to, I throw it away.
right, you get sick of the test, right? Yeah.
I don't want anyone else to watch. I'm with you on chewing gum. I
mean, as an actor, I feel like it's a bit of a crutch. I think it's not real. Like you can't just chew gum in every scene or eat food or
Well,
play
don't
with
you
a
think-
toothpick and like.
Don't you think maybe she, because it was kind of against type,
she
that
was
maybe that
making
was
Yeah.
her way
for
in?
sure. That was
Yeah.
her only way in.
She was like, I'm a bad girl in this.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she-
I'm chewing gum. I'm a bad girl.
But I feel like if they'd taken that away from her, just
Yeah.
taken the gum out of her mouth at a certain
Yeah.
point, she still would have been good. She would have been fine,
Totally.
and it wouldn't have been as annoying.
I know.
One of my favorite actor things is when they're at like a bar or something like that and they have a drink and they keep picking up the drink, but they never
They're not
actually drink
drinking
it.
Right.
Yeah.
So they just keep putting it down and picking it back up. But you notice they never actually like try to drink it.
it's
Uh,
also when you see
Or
a
else you have to
family,
drink it 500 times a day.
Yeah.
or it's a family eating dinner and they're spending the whole time just cutting the food into tiny little pieces.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Whenever
I don't
no one
eat
takes a
in the
bite.
scene. Never. You can't eat in the scene, or else you're looking at a good tummy ache.
And a
Oh,
continuity
God.
nightmare for the
Yeah.
editor.
I didn't even think about that because they had to do it X amount of
Mhm.
time.
Oh yeah,
Totally.
you got to do it like 50 times in a scene, so you don't want to eat.
We had a scene in the movie that we made, the Onyx movie, and it is not even in the final edit.
Never is.
But my character is
Damn.
having to eat like shovel scrambled eggs into his
They're like
mouth
liquidy scrambled eggs with like
Oh.
a giant spoon and a bucket of eggs.
because he's trying to make himself sick.
Hmm.
And I mean, maybe 3 takes of that, and I
No,
was
you did like
ready
5 takes.
to. Oh no,
of
I'm
that.
saying after
Oh,
3
okay.
takes, I was ready to vomit and call it a day.
And then we just fucking cut it out of the movie.
And then we just cut it out. But yeah,
Um,
you get sick fast.
So
when you're doing
fast.
that.
No, one thing to bring up in Tales of the Crypt, one of the cool things about about the whole series is that they give the room for those actors to kind of just do whatever they want and have a good
Yes.
time and be outside of their normal typecast role. And I think it's kind of cool here too.
I feel, it
But
feels like
yeah,
that's why they're willing to do it for less pay. It's just it's
Mhm.
a playground. The actors get to play, the directors get to play.
How
I
many
think
days?
everyone's having fun.
5 days.
They say 5 days to shoot an episode.
Yeah,
right?
something like
That's
that.
what-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's no time
Like
to really shape.
5 days of
performance.
prep, 5 days of shoot.
You hire the people, they
Well,
come in, they do it.
It's like a
But-
train. They're just like laying track as each train goes. They got like different trains going different speed, different
And-
paces.
And even when it comes to staff, I think it was Alan Gill were talking on the latest Q&A, Jason, that you did with them about how they were also the kind of the testing ground for directors.
Mhm.
Is when an actor said, I want to direct an episode, they'd say, oh yeah, go talk to Gil and Al and just do Tales from the Crypt.
Right.
Ah,
But I want to get to the rest of this cast list. There's some interesting stuff. So we talked about Roger, played by Perry King. He did Class of 1984, Melrose Place, a ton of stuff. what I thought was the woman in the restaurant was Valerie Wildman. She was in this show called Dangerous Woman, which is I guess early 90s, like women in prison or ex-cons. She's in Beverly Hills 90210, Castaway, ton of Days of Our Lives, and then the disaster movie parody. My favorite though is Ed, the convenience store, played by Michael Pollard. This is a crazy career. He was in both Star Trek and Lost in Space, which is extremely rare. Ton of old classic TV, but then he was in American Gothic, the 80s kind of slasher movie. He was in Scrooged. He was in Sleepaway Camp 3.
Yep.
Tango and Cash and House of a Thousand Corpses.
You know, it's funny when we watched the episode today. The first thing my wife said, he goes, "That's the guy from House of a Thousand Corpses in the first scene with Captain Spaulding when they're getting robbed."
Yep.
I was like, "Holy shit, that is him."
I loved him in Scrooge. I was a huge fan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love Scrooge. I still stand by that movie. Scared me as a kid.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That movie was terrifying as a kid.
I think that was like even though it wouldn't be classified as a horror film, I think that was kind of a horror gateway.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, really.
A lot
really
of spooky
scary.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's totally a ghost story.
I mean, he wanted to staple ears onto a mouse. Come on, like this is terrifying.
All right, Jody, give us a comic comparison.
Okay, so we were talking about how the plot kind of maybe has some issues. That's because it has nothing to do with the comic. Like we're I'll find the connections here for you. But this comes from Shock Suspense Stories number 9, March 1953, script by Bill Gaines and Al Feldstein, art by Wally Wood, who is one of my favorite of the EC artists. I really like his style, especially once he got up to Mad Magazine. And so here is our completely different story that has just, yes, very nice. And it has just the hints of similarity here. So a man comes back to his hunting lodge to find a beautiful woman there, naked and wrapped in a sheet, like a blanket, off of his bed. He has no idea who this woman is. And in a minute, I'm going to read you a little bit because this is Tales from the Crypt trying to be a little salacious. Like it's very obvious what they're getting at here. She says she got lost and she fell in a stream. And so her clothes are like drying on a line behind her. And he says that she can stay the night and gives her some clothes to put on. While she's changing, there is a definite shot of a little side boob in a 1953 comic for kids. 100%, no question. And they chit chat for a while to find out their names are Bob and Kathy, find out they're both single. And then she comes on to him, and let me pull up these captions here. I won't read you the dialogue, just the captions.
Oh, Jody, no, go all the way.
I'm excited. Let's do this, Jody.
It's every now and then we get one of these.
Mondo, cue up some music.
Said I started to back off, to sit down in the chair nearby, but she patted the couch cushion beside her. She was making things difficult for me. I slid down beside her and she put her head on my shoulder. She stared into the fire and beyond it, smiling. She put her fingers to my lips. She shook her head, whispering softly, her chest rising and falling with each breath she drew. I pulled her to me and she came anxiously, almost savagely. Her lips were warm and eager and she pressed against me as we clung to each other. That night was a furnace of consuming passion and I was her stoker. Toward dawn, the fire had died to a pile of burning embers. The fire had chilled and Kathy shivered as I held her in my arms. And then we go on with the plot. 1953 comic for children. Just a reminder of, we always hear about like, oh, all these stupid parents back in the 50s. I'm like, okay, at least every now and then I'll read an episode or read an issue of Tales from the Crypt, and I'm like, okay, I would have at least had some questions when my 8-year-old talked about being someone's stoker.
Dude, my daughter's 20, and I have questions if she wanted to read that.
But anyway, after their implied sex scene there, she falls asleep, and he turns on the radio to hear, conveniently, about a woman who escaped from the state hospital from the criminally insane. She matches Kathy's description, blonde woman, like the height, weight, all that, and says that this person escaped in a blue jumpsuit, and he thinks, oh, there were blue clothes hanging on the line. this woman who I've been alone in this cabin with is a murderer. They say on the radio that she stabbed her fiance. And so he gets convinced that it's Kathy. And the next morning he's like, oh, don't you want to go back and find your cabin? Let's go. Let's get you out of here. And when she's outside, he locks her outside while she's begging to be let back in.
Wait, doesn't she say like we're engaged now?
Yeah. At one point she says we're engaged. I don't know where that comes from at all.
I was like,
just-
what?
Yeah. She says, you know, like, I thought we could stay for a little longer now that we're engaged. I don't know if that's some like 1950s we had sex, so now we're engaged thing, or there was a conversation we didn't hear, but she says they're engaged. But anyway, she gets locked out and banging on the door, and he's just like, this crazy lady's outside. I'm going to ignore her. Then she screams, and we see blood start flowing in under the door. And honestly, I think this is like 90% of the connection is just blood flowing under the door and locking a woman outside, because he does that on the balcony in the show. And when he walks outside, he sees her naked on the ground. Her clothes that he gave her have been taken away. She's draped with a uniform that says State Asylum for the Criminally Insane. She's got a knife in her throat. And in the distance, we see another blonde woman running away wearing those clothes that she had on earlier. So he thought that she was the killer. And in doing so, he locked her outside so that the actual killer could get to her and murder her. Honestly, for Tales from the Crypt comic, pretty cool twist. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that was a good comment.
But this particular comic is all about that salaciousness. It's trying to be, you know, there's a whole lot of implied sex in there. I mean, literally, the very first scene is her wrapped up in a blanket, and she stays that way for 2 whole pages, like 12, 14 panels. So they're trying to be a little naughty here. But I think it works. It's a good comic. Has literally almost nothing to do with this episode that we just watched, though.
Yeah, I wonder
It
why.
happens.
Why even does that happen often? That the template
Yeah, on a fairly regular basis.
wildly different.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, I forgot to mention this episode was written by Ron Finley, who doesn't do much, but he did 5 episodes
Yeah.
of Tales from the Crypt, including Undertaker Parlor, The New Arrival, As Ye Sow, The
Good
Punishment Fit the
episodes.
Crime. Really good episodes, but most of them don't really have much to do.
Yeah.
They're very loose. I mean, there's a couple ideas, but overall they're very loose. But
Well,
that was kind of
didn't-
the mandate, was you have to use the name of a comic. Doesn't have to have anything to do with the actual episode.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't Al
But we-
say as long as you kept the title, you didn't have to do much more with it?
Mhm.
Is every episode is every episode of Tales from the Crypt?
Everyone has a
Almost.
comic of some sort. other
Yeah,
than a
they-
rare
again,
exception.
Yeah, again, as long as it uses the name. So like the one with Brad Pitt, that's the name of a comic in the EC canon, but
Okay.
it has nothing to do at all. It's just, I think that was part of the copyright stuff, is as long as they're using the names, they get to keep EC as a whole,
It tells from the Crypt branding.
the branding, but as long as
Yeah.
they use the names, but they weren't obliged to use anything particularly from the stories.
But I do find sometimes the plots tend to meander more when they stay far away from the comic. Like, these comics were made to be really tight scripts. You know, you got like 6 pages to tell the whole story. And the times with the show really follows the comic well, I feel like we have a tighter episode most of the time. And then the times that they just kind of do their own thing, you know, again, with this production schedule, you leave a lot of loose ends and stuff that don't really ever get resolved, because you're writing fast. You're doing everything fast.
Mhm. Can I ask a question that is incredibly tangential, but at the same time, it's about the Crypt Keeper, so it's not too
Go for it.
far off target. Do you know where, in relationship to the comics, the oh my gosh, is it Yeager, Kevin Yeager,
Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
where he got to that design from the comics? I know there were different storytellers across EC Comics. Was there any that looked like what he wound up
So
conceptualizing for the Crypt Keeper?
yeah, Al did an episode with Kevin and John Cassier to talk a lot about that. And from what I can tell, so obviously we have the 3 characters, the witch, the Crypt Keeper, and
The Vault Keeper.
Vault Keeper.
Yeah.
And I think that they took elements of each of them and kind of put them together. So like it kind of has like the hair of this one and
Yeah.
the complexion of the other one. So I think they kind of wrapped them all together, and then Kevin just kind of went off and did his thing, and should it have a nose, should it not have a nose, all that kind of stuff. It's funny because in our Q&A someone asked like, was there ever thought of doing the other characters?
Yeah.
And like having that be kind of like little changes.
Jason, that was my favorite question because Al and Gil were like, holy crap, where were you 20 years ago or 40 years ago, whatever? Because we could have done where the camera pans up from the Crypt Keeper and then we see the original Vault Keeper or the original Crypt Keeper.
Like instead of going down the stairs into the crypt, it could have gone like over to the side to a vault or something. Like, if they were like, trying to expand it, that could have been a cool way to do that.
I got goosebumps thinking of that because that'd been such a cool left turn they could have done.
I like any episode that shows his feeties.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. He had his feet up in this episode at the top.
No, that was the other one that we watched.
That was on the oil.
Oils. Well, he has little feeties up and crossed.
Or whenever he walks or something. I love that.
It's kind of like watching a Muppet walk. Like you see Kermit on a bike. Like, oh man, that's awesome.
I've always said I've won a Crypt Keeper series where he's just like going to thrift stores and finding costume pieces and having a good time and like building sets, having the best time of his life.
Oh yeah, gosh, he's got a great wardrobe department and prop department. It's just
but I want him at the thrift store though, finding the props and finding the fun stuff. Like getting excited when he gets a flight down a hat and it's like, I have an idea.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any final thoughts on this episode?
I'm good.
I guess my final thought would be that it is interesting to look at it from the perspective of, why do we vilify this character, and could it have been unpacked better or more, even though it has such a short runtime, but and that it was fun to see Brooke Shields play someone more nefarious.
Nefarious. And I really do disassociate those words.
Nebulously and nefarious.
And that I now realize that I remember Perry King from Melrose Place because I watched a lot of Melrose Place and had completely forgotten that. Yeah.
I liked it. I was engaged from the beginning, which sometimes I'm not. I'm looking for the thing to hook me in. And this one I was like immediately in. And I thought the blood looked good. I thought there was a couple of really cool shots. And I loved her performance and his. I think it was problematic in the end, but I was engaged in the episode as a whole.
And we both loved Michael Pollard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to our episode ranking. We do 0 to 5, 5 being the best, 0 being the worst. You can do half points. Mondo, why don't you go first?
3. Again, not amazing, not bad at all, but a solid episode. I think that people would watch and enjoy.
All right, Jody.
I'm gonna go just a little bit higher because of that opening scene and that opening murder. I'm gonna go 3.5 for this one. It's a good episode. Not particularly memorable, but there's good moments in it for sure.
All right, Andrew.
I think 3, and I think for me the best Tales episodes, everything really clicks into place at the end thematically. That like full circle feeling. Like I think about the Catherine O'Hara lawyer episode. I don't remember the name. Peter McNichol. Is it Peter McNichol?
It's coming up. I don't know the name.
That episode, I remember. I rewatched it recently. It just feels so kind of like maybe like it would have in the comic. I don't know, just really tight. It all fit together thematically. It was kind of anchored to stuff that I could track, and this one felt a little like I couldn't quite track all of its themes and. Didn't know who deserved the comeuppance and why. So I think 3.
All right, Olivia.
Oh, I don't know. Numbers are what the fuck do numbers? Like maybe I'll go with 4 just because I really loved how I loved Brooke's commitment to her character. I loved
her chewing
commitment. I really thought that everyone was really in it, which was
Yeah.
fun for me, regardless of what it even was about. I really liked the performances.
Yeah, they did.
You know
all
what?
good.
Yeah, they did feel committed. Sometimes they don't.
They were.
Definitely.
down.
I'm going with a
Definitely.
4 because I found this a very entertaining episode. Yeah, looking back, I can pull a lot of strings out of it, but in the moment, I really enjoyed this episode. So,
Yeah.
In Brooke Shields' aggressive gum chewing was just
oh
really
God.
on point.
Fuck me, it was bad.
Well, Jason, just saying the episode that they're talking about, Catherine O'Hara, let the punishment fit the crime, would fit in really well with Nothing But Trouble. Just
Oh
saying.
God. I hate
Are you all going to talk about Nothing But Trouble as a?
We've talked about it's popped up so many times. I think at some point we have to
We're
do
gonna have to.
a Nothing
Yeah.
But Trouble episode because Jason hates it, and Jody and I are in the boat of it's fun.
No, I haven't seen like 20 years, but I did not like that movie.
It had Tupac. Come on, it had Tupac and Digital Underground. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And a
All
pink-
right. And now we're gonna kick it over to our Uncle Al. Magical editing.
Mhm.
And we're back. We forgot to talk about any announcements. I do want to mention that if you watch our Q&A, you know that we are doing a project with Al and Gil to do a live script read of the unmade Tales from the Crypt movie, Dead Easy.
Oof.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And we're still working everything out. It will be a benefit for the Motion Picture Society, the home that helps actors who are retired and need some assistance. We're looking at December 17th at noon Pacific. And again, we'll announce the rest of the details as they come in, but definitely jot that on your calendar.
Super cool.
I listening to the Bordello of Blood, podcast. I wanted to know more about that movie than anything.
Mhm.
Because they all held it in such high regard, and I trust their instincts with how well they ran the show. That they must be right that would have been a better movie to make.
Right.
Yeah. The bar isn't that high, but I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not
but
not to toot my horn, but I've read the script and yes, it is better.
Cool.
Very few people have actually read that script, so
So
Yeah, future
our
horror.
plan is for the script read to be a little bit condensed for that kind of format, but then they will be putting the script out for public consumption, probably through some sort of paywall that partly benefits the Motion Picture home. So we're kind of, it'll be in December, the time for giving and getting your tax stuff done so you can get your
Ooh,
donation
scary.
credits.
That should be spooky season, is doing your fucking taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think we have any other announcements, so let's move on. And I lost my place to do song of the day.
Thanks. I'll
I've
be
been doing this
quick
for a
and-
year and a half. And I can't remember the order.
Right, dude. I'm gonna go quick in honor of you, who goes very quick. But so my thought process this week is that who likes opera music? Does anybody here love opera music? You do? Okay. Yes.
I don't know shit about it, but I do love opera music.
But
Like,
do you
sometimes
like
I'll
just
watch it.
do you like going to opera shows, or do you like just chilling at home and listening to opera?
I haven't been to a lot of opera shows, but I actually think I would love it. I'm an insanely emotional creature, so I feel like I would get immediately engaged in it. So I have
Damn,
nothing
was
against opera. Sorry, but you can talk. You can say whatever you want.
this ruins everything.
I know, no,
sorry,
it's fine.
no, I actually want to bring up a song that I absolutely love. And it's by a band called Absu, who came around in Texas in the early 90s. The guy that started the band, Proscriptor McGovern, was a drummer, but also did vocals, which is really probably pretty difficult to do, I imagine. As a guy that tried doing guitar and vocals, it's very difficult to do that. I could imagine doing drums, but of the first official record they did, which was Barathrum Vitriol, the second track was Descent to Acheron. Descent to Acheron has this really cool vocal part to the end where the guy's doing his black metal, death metal, growly vocals with operatic vocals displaced on top of that. And it sounds so fucking terrifying, so creepy. And I really thought it was what like evil metal was a sound like.
What's the name of
And-
the song?
That sounds great. We should look.
You guys should. The name is the song of the week is by the band Absu, ABSU. The album is Barathrum Vitriol. The song is Descent to Acheron, which Acheron being I think the later on the Romans called it the River Styx, but that was where you went to meet the ferrymen to go to to go to the underworld in I think Greek mythology. So but again, a band from Texas, really that I don't know a whole lot about the band except that first record just knocked my socks off. Even though I didn't hear it in 93 because I was 10, I think I heard it like in 97, 98 when I was really diving deep into the genre. But towards the end, though, they do the verses with the operatic vocals on top of it, and it just sounds horrifying in the best possible way. Like they really nail the use of those vocals, which I thought kind of fit in really cool with this episode.
Nice.
And if
you.
through all my ranting, you guys don't, I'll link it here in our chat.
All right. That's probably for the better. All right, Jody. You got some horror movie news?
Yeah. So few movie announcements. A slasher called Float has been announced for December 8th release. And it is a slasher set on a river as people float on inner tubes. So I don't know where we're going with that, but hey, that sounds interesting.
I'm in.
Directed by Zach Locke, who produced the new It's Black Christmas and The Wind, that Western horror movie that came out not long ago.
That's interesting. In there's a place called Just Float nearby where it's like it's kind of sensory deprivation rooms.
It's awesome. You should
Yeah.
try it. It's fantastic.
It's really fun. But now I'm thinking like of a horror movie.
To that place. I've just
Oh.
Yeah, you could definitely do a horror movie in a sensory.
Yeah, I was thinking that'd be a good setting for a horror movie.
This is the kind of country ass floating though, like going down a river and just sitting in an inner tube.
Not how LA people do it.
Yeah, that's how they do it around here.
Hey, you LA people are busy. Too busy. Is it kind of like Aqua Slash?
I don't know. That's what I was thinking of too. I liked Aqua Slash. That
Me
was
too.
a really silly
too.
movie. But speaking
Aqua's-
of really silly movies, the people behind Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey have announced their next project,
Oh gosh.
Peter Pan, Neverland Nightmare. So they're going more public domain here. And according to the director in the picture, Neverland will be, quote, kind of a freak show. We'll take a tormented look at some of these characters, such as Tinkerbell. So,
And these are not the people behind the Fiona from Shrek horror movie. That's a whole separate.
What?
No, what's that?
There's a Fiona as kind of a hunchback monster. Slasher movie.
so
Interesting.
in these years, we're getting the Winnie the Pooh horror movie, Peter Pan, Fiona, and a couple weeks ago I mentioned there's a Grinch horror movie coming
with David Howard Thornton, right? David
yeah,
Howard
with the
Thornton
guy
from
who plays
Art the Clown.
the clown as the Grinch. So there's a lot of weird movies coming out, but you know, isn't that what we love?
Sure.
Speaking of Terrifier, though, Terrifier 2 was submitted for Oscar consideration just because it's funny to make the members of the Academy watch this movie.
I was wondering about this, like is there a barrier? Is there like a fee or something like that? Like if I was one in marketing, I would just submit every movie I made.
I don't know, but one year I got a package delivered to my house that was meant to go one street over, and it was a box of Oscar DVDs.
Yeah.
And I went and dropped them off at their house. The guy, I rang the doorbell and tried to run away, but I'm old. I'm not very fast. And he's like, oh, hey, because, oh shit. He was like so thankful that he found the movies because he was worried that one would leak and he would get fined. So I don't know if they have to watch them all, but they get them all.
I mean, they have definitely, they definitely don't watch them all
No,
because I've
they
heard
don't.
them say like,
I know a lot of people in the Academy, they don't watch them all. They just
Right.
pick whichever ones they want to watch.
Okay.
Will they
But-
watch Terrifier 2? That's the question.
we just
mean,
hope that at
if
least
they're cool,
one
they will.
Academy member has to watch it.
You don't have to with the fact that it's part of that's like sitting next to the other movies. It
Like
just tickles me.
I imagine like Patton Oswalt being a member of the Academy and watching that and just loving it. Like that's what I really hope.
I
It's
feel like Patton does watch everything.
yeah.
I
He
think so,
probably does. He probably does, but man, like Terrifier 2, like holy, we've talked about it many weeks in a row now, and how cool is it for it's like the little horror
It's
movie
making
that
a
could,
ton of money too.
Yeah.
Well,
but
wasn't
it's
Hold on.
opening a lot. It's going to open a lot of doors
yeah.
for studios to take chances on smaller movies, realizing they could make money on potentially something that didn't have that huge of a budget, and hopefully it's for the better.
What
And
wasn't Patton in Dude Bro Party Massacre?
Yeah,
He was.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
he was like the sheriff or something.
yeah. Patton was the sheriff in our movie. He was always a big fan of like our web series 5-second films, and so he was a big supporter. So when
That's so cool.
yeah, when we made
Mhm.
that movie, he was on board for whatever, and he's great. He's lovely.
That's
He's a big
awesome.
fan of indie filmmaking. So
And you guys
his,
haven't seen it, his filibuster on
Yes.
what was it?
Parks
Yeah.
and Rec.
Yeah, just out of this world.
Well,
So-
and his current wife was on the Tales episode just a couple that we
Yeah.
covered a couple weeks ago.
oh
Yep.
really?
And
Yeah, the House of Horrors.
Oh.
Yep.
And there was oh man, there's an older horror film that I just watched with her as well.
I love her.
What
Mhm.
was it? Oh my gosh, I gotta look it up because I was like, who is this actress?
Meredith.
She's great.
Mhm.
And it was Meredith. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I started following her after we covered the episode. She seems like a really
yeah.
cool person.
Yeah, I like her. I'd say I remember her from way back when I was a kid. There was a Disney movie called like The Adventures of Natty Gann, and that was her, and it was like a little girl.
Oh.
That's so cool.
But switching from Disney, with more Terrifier talk,
Build
Damien
it.
Leone has said that Terrifier 3 and 4 are actually possible right now because he has written the treatment for 3, but it's getting so big. He says he might have to split off to a 4th movie. And you know what? After Terrifier 2, I'm down. Like I was not a fan at all of the first Terrifier. I've said that before, but I really enjoyed part 2, and so I'm down for whatever he's going with.
I want Terrifier in space.
All right.
Eventually, and a long enough timeline, it's going to go there.
I think they can get there. They definitely set up enough in Terrifier 2, just from a mythology perspective, to where
yeah.
they've got a lot to unpack and explain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they can scratch it.
As much as Art the Clown's getting so much love, the final girl
Yes.
in Terra
Yeah.
2 was so awesome.
Yeah, and she's coming back for the 3rd one.
Yeah. God, I can't remember her name.
Continuing
Right now.
that story.
Lauren Lavera.
Lavera, yes, so good in that movie.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And one last bit of horror news here. Screambox has officially been taken over by Bloody Disgusting now. They have a new site, new apps, a whole bunch of originals and exclusives, including Terrifier and Terrifier 2. That's the only place you can watch those legally online now. A movie called Deep Fear, When the Screaming Starts. A Argentinian movie called Pussy Cake that I watched at Chattanooga Film Fest this year that I would recommend. It's so cool.
I watched that with you, Jody. That was that was actually really great. The worst name ever, but
Worst
also,
name.
but when you watch a movie, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a take on like Pussy Riot in Russia. So it's a girl band, zombies in a cooler way that I've seen in a long time. Satan's Little Helper Uncut is on there. The Toxic Crusaders, which is the Toxic Avenger cartoon that came out back in the 80s or early 90s. So yeah, lots of stuff on there. It looks cool. I'm just happy to have more places to watch horror movies. And it's another one of these things like Shudder. It's like $5 a month. It's the cost of renting one movie. You can have access.
I know they have that all jacked up and full of worms, which
that's coming.
Saw was at Fantastic Fest, and then 2 months later is going to be on Screenbox, which is always nice when you can see something that you heard about at a festival.
That has a really amazing poster. The poster to that is so cool.
Yeah, I get the feeling that Screenbox is going to end up being like Shudder, that they're going to pick up a lot of these indie projects that come off of the festival circuit, and I'm down for it. I want distribution for all this stuff.
Well, I paid for Screenbox when they got Freddy's Nightmares. They're the first.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say I regretted it, but Freddy's Nightmares is not as good as I remember.
All right, thank you, Jody. All right, let's move on to some dad advice. Andrew, Olivia, you're our guest, so we're gonna kind of kick it to you to give not particularly dad advice, but mentor advice. You have very well respected careers in the entertainment industry, and you don't get there by mistake. So, what advice would you give to someone looking to break into and be successful in the film, TV, streaming content?
Oh man.
I would say, my advice is just to make your own stuff. I think people get stuck in a rut, kind of waiting for other people to either finance their scripts or give them a reason for their thing to be made, and you kind of just have to be your own reason. And I'm not one of those people that just says go out and make a movie on your cell phone. It's not easy, and it all costs money, but I do think you can come up with ideas that cost very little money and at least exercise the parts of your brain that are, need to kind of hone your voice and storytelling, and just going through the process of making something front to back to where maybe when someone does show up with money, you're ready to take on that bigger gig. But just basically, don't wait. Just start making anything and everything any way you can, and work with your friends, find collaborators that you truly have fun with, because you'll make a lot of stuff that might not go anywhere. And the process really does become the most important, most enjoyable part, not the outcome and the final destination.
Yeah, okay. That's always my answer as well. But I mean, yeah, make your own stuff, but also like that doesn't matter. It's all hard, and everything is always going to be hard in this business. So when it gets hard, just go to the movies. Like that's what I do. I was just trying to find inspiration, no matter what level I'm at in the business. It's hard, and so I take myself to the movies by myself. We watch movies. I watch movies every morning. I watch horror movies every single morning at like 5 a.m. I have a really fucked up schedule, and I don't know, just always stay inspired. That's all. That's the only thing you have control over is your own inspiration.
Love it.
Yeah, we'll be stressed about something, and then we'll go and watch like The Last Unicorn. At
And
the Draft
fucking
House.
cry our eyes out and
And
be
then-
inspired and write something.
Yeah. We'll walk out of there and we'll be like, oh man, movies can change everything.
Yeah.
Remember last year? Yeah,
It's important.
it's very important.
Oh, it's really good. I like that.
I love it. Really do.
Yeah, especially again now the barrier to putting out content is so low. At least a sample of your content. It's so easy to put things out.
Well, and the fact that, I mean, look at Terrifier 2. The budget of that film, I wouldn't have expected. I mean, this even was a lesson for me, because I know when they announced that, and when they announced their approach, their distribution approach, I was like, I don't know, guys. I was thinking like Terrifier 2 in theaters. I watched the first one and watched the second one and was waiting to see the second one, but I didn't think it would pan out the way it did, and that was proved me wrong, which is really encouraging. And Deadstream going to Shudder, and that being really cheap and being as inventive as it was, I mean, it's proof that even in like 2022 you can make something for next to nothing that can still gain people's interest.
Well, even the third piece, have you guys seen Never Hike Alone?
No.
Oh, I love that.
The Jason fan films, that they're making money now doing this off YouTube distribution. It's like, holy shit. Like it's really cool to see horror just having all these avenues to explore.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, well, that wraps up another episode. Olivia and Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you?
I'm at Andrew Bowser, director on everything.
I'm just Olivia Taylor Dudley on everything.
Awesome. And what was the name of your YouTube channel again, so people can find that?
Bowser Vids. I
Bowser
think the
Vids.
URL is just Bowser Vids, youtube.com/Bowser Vids. It might be Bowser Vids totally.
We should know.
I
We
should
don't
know.
We'll put a link in the episode description. But
And that's the best place for updates on our movie.
We live stream every Friday, so that's
nice.
fun.
Okay. Awesome.
Cool. All right. Well, we appreciate everyone for listening. We'd really appreciate it if you would give us a rating and review on iTunes or rating on Spotify. Check out our Patreon for bonus content. Also, check out our YouTube for videos of these podcasts. And with that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.